Welcome to this video. We've been saying for a while that we might do a summary of this playlist, History of North Africa and the Mediterranean, but one of our viewers sent me a message quite early on when we were doing the videos about the Philistines that if we really want to try and understand this, we should look at the Pelasgians. Another very mysterious people. So we see here when we were looking at the sea peoples, so this mysterious seafaring confederation that attacked ancient Egypt, we looked at the Peliset, but we looked at the connection with the Philistines. But we see the Peliset also being connected with the Pelasgians. So does that mean that the Pelasgians are connected to the Philistines? So if you think about the idea of a summary, you normally do that at the end. So can we really do a summary without looking at the Pelasgians for this playlist? And we see all these connections that we've already explored so far. Now, I've kind of been putting off doing a video on the Pelasgians because it's not easy to understand and to process the information to know what it's saying. So I've kind of been putting it off, but I did come across this page. I would like to read this testimony because I think it's very telling and it could be important on this page on the Pelasgians. So I'd like to read this testimony. When I originally set this page up in August 2003, I did not realize what a minefield I was entering. So I think this description of a minefield is actually very apt. Now that's not what I was thinking when I was putting off doing this video on the Pelasgians. It was more a case of just struggling to process the information, to know what it's saying. But now doing this research and making these videos, for this playlist, I can understand this description of it being like a minefield. Okay, let's carry on. I've learned from patronizing and sadly abusive emails that the Pelasgians have been hijacked since the 19th century by the ethnic claims of the various populations of the Balkans. So isn't this, or we can say very interesting, the fact that, this Pelasgians have been hijacked. So very interesting, but also then sad to read about the abuse, that the researcher has experienced. But this could be very telling if you think about some of the videos that we've done on this channel. As a result, I've been tempted to remove this page and the 2 pages on the Lemnos inscription, but it has been pointed out to me that would be giving in to extremists and bigots. I agree, therefore, I'll leave this page and the pages on the Lemnian inscription for those who wish to pursue these topics without prejudice and with a scholarly regard to the evidence. So for me, this is a very strong testimony that if you think about this, the researcher, almost took the page down. And that would mean that we wouldn't have had the chance to come across it, if he had given up or, given in to the abuse. So I think it's a very powerful testimony about, where we are in the world and, how we can be treated and the abuse you can receive just for, asking questions, for, trying to get to the truth. So I think this is a very powerful testimony. And we also now have to think about, trying to learn from this, the experiences of others. And are we, getting ourselves into a minefield potentially? So we'll have to think about that. But let's just try and get a very basic understanding of the Pelasgians. And it's going to be basic because, that's all, I'm able to do. I'm not an expert in these fields. So we'll just try and get a very basic understanding. So the Pelasgians, the oldest inhabitants of ancient Greece. So let's try speak about this. If we go to this page on Pelasgia, so what it's saying is that before we had this idea of Greece or ancient Greece, the geography for this region, Greece may have been called Pelasgia. So the older name for ancient Greece being Pelasgia, and that would mean that the oldest inhabitants of ancient Greeks would have been the Pelasgians. But then it does say that, I'll just find the page. Now we're going to go to the mythology, and like we've been saying in quite a few of the videos recently, there's normally going to be a character in the mythology where this name comes from, and it's going to be another son of Zeus. So another famous son of Zeus called Pelasgus. But it says that the Pelasgians were mythical inhabitants. So it's saying that these people were mythical. So that's interesting. But, the historians, the ancient historians, they're saying that ancient Greece was previously called Pelasgia. So you would think that would be based on real people, the Pelasgians. So that's why it's like difficult to know what to make of this, because you have to try consider the mythology and also ancient sources and historians. So we do have quite a few different characters called Pelasgos or Pelasgus in the mythology. So again, that also makes it confusing to try to process, what are we looking at here? So that's just the basics of trying to understand the Pelasgians, being the indigenous inhabitants of ancient Greece. But then sometimes, the Greeks were also referred to as Pelasgians. So they could be described as pre-Greeks, but then, in some sources we might even see, Greeks being described as Pelasgian. And if we look at this map, we're going to speak about this map, we see all these different examples of the Pelasgi or the Pelasgoi in this region. So it'll be, if you can see my cursor, this is the region that was depicted on that map. So how's this going to relate to the region that we've been looking at with the history of North Africa and the Mediterranean? So I came across this this source, and it's from 1891, the Etruscan-Pelasgian problem. So now we're having this connection with the Etruscans and the Pelasgians, and the Etruscans are recognized as that they were a real people, a real civilization, but being connected to the Pelasgians, who we just read, in some trains of thought that they were mythical, they weren't real, but now being connected with, a real civilization. So let's read this part. Well, I don't want to read it all out, but the basis of this is that the Pelasgians are more obscure than the Etruscans. That we can see the Etruscans more clearly than the Pelasgians, but then it does go on to say that, in this point of history, we don't know the meaning of a single word in the Etruscan language. So if you can't work out a single word of the Etruscan language, how well do you really know the Etruscans? And this was in 1891. But the interesting thing is, on this part here, it speaks about a researcher, Dr. Brinton, developing a theory that the Etruscans were originally a Numidian or a Libyan colony, allied in language to the ancestors of the modern Kabyles or Berbers. And we have mentioned this source before, Dr. Brinton and his connections with the Etruscans and the Libyans. Let me just show you. I'll put these links in the description below. So the ethnological affinities of the ancient Etruscans. And the way I operate, I normally try to just show you one or two interesting things from here, from the source. So let me show you something quite interesting. So looking at these connections between the ancient Etruscans and the Libyans or the Berbers, with the culture and language, but this one's very interesting with the numericals. So I'll just show this to you, Hopefully you can see it on your screen. So here we have the archaic Etruscan, their method of counting, and then this side here, archaic Libyan Hamitic, so Hamitic languages. Notice the similarities, and I'll just read the way he describes this. The similarity here displayed appears to me quite convincing that the Etruscan, if not a Libyan dialect, was certainly a branch of the Hamitic family, with closer relations to the Libyan than to the Eastern dialect of the family. So very interesting, and let me just go to the conclusion, and I'll just scroll down so that you can, pause and try to read the conclusions. If maybe you haven't got the time to read a whole, 22-page article, but there's the very interesting conclusions. So let me try and explain what I'm trying to say with this video. If we're thinking now about the Pelasgians as, let's just find that page again, the oldest inhabitants of ancient Greece. So if you really want to understand ancient Greece, you have to consider the Pelasgians. You have to, try, see what you can find out about the Pelasgians to really understand ancient Greece. If ancient Greece was previously called Pelasgia, and we do see that there is a character in the mythology where this name could be coming from, a son of Zeus. And then we think about the map that they give us for the Pelasgoi. So we see here, the region where we being told to look. But then we see the Pelasgians being mentioned alongside the Etruscans. And if we go to the source that we started with, we do see on this page the Tyrrhenian connection, that the Pelasgians are being connected to the Etruscans. So we do see this connection. Now we have to think about things that we've already done in the playlist, because we did speak about the Trojan connection with the Etruscans, but we saw the Trojans being connected with the Berber tribes of North Africa. So in different ways, we're seeing the Etruscans connected to North Africa and the Berbers. And then the scholar is saying that there's from all these different different ways of trying to explore this, language, culture, society. We're just showing this one example with the numericals, how they're counted. It does look very close. If we trust in the scholar and his work, it seems very close. So why aren't the scholars exploring, this Libyan connection? Is it being ignored? Or is it because of like what we're saying up the top here, that this is like a minefield, and what's going on here? Is it true what this testimony about these ancient people that are being claimed as mythological, but then being hijacked, for whatever reasons? So this is very interesting, but obviously it could be important for our picture, because we're seeing the Pelasgians being connected with the Etruscans, but then we see the Etruscans being connected to this region of Libya. So it's not direct, if we think about that. So we're listening to the advice that the Pelasgians are maybe a bit of a minefield. It's going to be very obscure. And this page did say that we can see the Etruscans more clearly. So if that's true, let's focus on the Etruscans, and that could help us with the Pelasgians. And we're just following this perspective of Dr. Brinton with the theory, with the connection of the Etruscans with the Libyans or the Berbers. But then that's going to impact ancient Greece, or how you see ancient Greece, because ancient Greece may have been called Pelasgia. So I'm just going to say that for where I am at with this, it doesn't seem that you can really understand ancient Greece or get to the truth of ancient Greece without seriously considering Libya and also the Berbers. And you can't really get to the truth or know what to make of this without considering Libya. So maybe that's like part of our, summary. If we do get to do a summary, that may be one of the conclusions, or, part of the summary, that there's a very strong connection with Libya, with the Greeks, and with ancient Greece. And maybe, what we've been presented with, we have to seriously question. I can just find without, yeah, I was here. Yeah, just question what we've been presented with here, where we're being told to look for the Pelasgi or the Pelasgoi. The information might be telling us that we would be maybe closer to the truth to be looking. Maybe let's first look in Libya and explore those connections. So, yeah, it's not going to be a thorough video on the Pelasgians, because, yeah, I've only got a very, very basic understanding, and yeah, we really do need help from experts, people that are confident in these different fields, like the Pelasgians and the Philistines. It would really be helpful to get that expertise. But I think we, even as amateurs or lay people, we can still try to do the best that we can. But yeah, unfortunately, it is sad that the world we live in, we have to, experience these things. And I think we should really think about what's been said here. And I think I'm also going to, reflect on this. So I think we are getting closer to doing this summary. We can see there's a lot of things that we've covered. It's difficult to try, summarize this, but we couldn't really do a summary for this without, just mentioning the Pelasgians. Maybe if we get some good comments, maybe we can follow up on this. So thank you for the comments on the previous video. The last video we did, we had lots of sharing of comments in this video, so that was really good. So if we do get a similar response to this video, with people saying what they know about the Pelasgians, people who have more confidence to speak about this, then we can maybe go further with it, or make another video to try and maybe go a little bit more in depth. But I don't want to go too much into that, because I'm taking seriously what what this researcher is saying, and his testimony about it being a minefield, and the experience with the abuse. So yeah, not saying to be afraid or be fearful, but to try use wisdom to learn from other people's experiences. And just glad that the researcher, was brave to leave this up so that we could come across it. So I think that's, something we can learn from this. So I'm going to leave it at that for this video, and hopefully we can get some good comments to help us with the Pelasgians, and it could be connected to the Philistines. So definitely could be very important for this playlist, because we did start it with the Philistines. And yeah, I'm very happy to make it through this video without needing any water. So yeah, thank you for those that were thinking about my well-being. So I'm definitely feeling better. So yeah, thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.